Over the years, I've tried lots of different boxes, and I've collected them in copy paper boxes, nukes. So over my shoulder is a trap. We have a disc entrance on the front, and this is my favorite setup. So these swarm trap stands that I'm going to show you, it's just deck boards. They're made out of deck boards and a 2x2. Pretty simple, a couple screws. And then I'll put a 3-inch screw through the, one at the top, one at the bottom, into the tree, and that's it. That's all it takes to hold this trap. I like to use old boxes. That's how I recycle my old hive bodies. And this one's pretty beat up, but I've had it for 9-10 years. And originally it had 2 coats of polyurethane on it. Had a coat of paint first before I put the polyurethane on it. But you'll notice that I don't hang them very high. So I'm a Michigan beekeeper, okay? So the timing is gonna be different the farther south you go. So everything that I say today is, I'm speaking from Michigan standards, okay? So I have my swarm traps hung by May. Usually I don't start to collect them until the month of May. And right now, I should have had a trap up on this 4x4. I like to dual purpose my trees. You'll notice the tree that we were just at, that was also a tree that I hunt deer out of. This is a 4x4 that I capture deer pictures out of, and I catch swarm traps. So I have to come back here and hang a stand and put a trap in this, and I'll hang it right about this high. So what's in the hive? How do I set it up? Well, you know, this is the key right here. If you want to catch bees, if you want to trap bees, dark comb, okay? This is what every trap is missing between traps that are successful and people that are setting traps with blank foundation and rubbing it with wax or spraying Swarm Commander and thinking that they can trap bees. There's a chance, but your chances go up so much when you have this. But I usually put a couple frames of old comb, and then the other frames will be just new foundation or old foundation, whatever, and I'll put a frame of honey in. This doesn't even have that much honey in it, but that's like another lure, it's another magnet. Now you can use lemongrass, essential oil, or you can use Swarm Commander. Swarm Commander is a lure. It says right on the label, premium swarm lure. First year that I used it, that was when I caught a dozen. So it does work. One bottle is gonna last you years. So I think it's worth it. Swarm Commander to spray on the front and 1 spray on the top. And that's it. You come back in a week and you can refresh your traps. Just spray the entrance. And where is the entrance? So you can see I have the disc entrance. Oof, that baby's got propolis on it. Okay, so I have the entrance open now. Got to make sure you open the entrance, the bees aren't going to even get trapped. One thing I've changed over the years, I used to push them all over to the right. I used to put in a little finishing nail. That way when I'm driving them around, they don't get bumped around, but I've noticed they're pretty well glued in there, and I just didn't find it necessary, and I always had to pull that nail out. That's it, you know, just some drawn out comb, 1 frame of honey, just a little bit of honey if you've got it. If not, maybe an old frame that used to have honey on there. That's just something that smells like bees and honey, and it's gonna make those scouts go back and do the bee dance and let them know I found a good spot. I love my wagon too. That wagon's great. So this is one of the higher stands that I've hung. It's all my swarm trap stands have the same design. It's that deck board with a 2x2, and that's it. That way I can just buy a couple boards and make a lot of swarm trap stands. Now, again, this is an old box, nothing to it, and I have the disc entrance on the front. But I don't like to hang them high, one, because they can get blown off by wind. The higher you go, the windier it is. And it's always a good idea to strap them down. put a ratchet strap around it and just thread it between the boards. Or you can just simply, you can't see this, but there's a screw that's screwed in about halfway. I just go through the bottom of the hive body a little bit. I don't want to pierce the frames that are on the inside. But you know, a lot of the old timers swear by hanging the swarm traps high, and then you got to get a ladder out. But you know, a real cool way, easy way to do it that I found is I used to put them in my ladder stands. So we climb up and then we have a seat about 15 feet high. Well, that's an easy way. You just put your traps in the spring, just put your traps in your tree stands, and then you can climb up there and get it down. Still, it's kind of dangerous. Make sure you wear a safety harness because you know, you're talking a chance that you could fall. So that's what's nice about being able to take this, turn the disc, and take it down. It's safer and it's effective. I like to refresh these every week, and you'll see this is an old box. And when I come back to refresh them, when I start, I'll spray the inner cover, but I'm not going to come back and take them apart every time. So I'll just put a couple sprays on that hive body right at the entrance, and that'll do it. Bees smell really well, and they can smell it from a long distance. So that should last you at least a week. Now it looks like some fire ants have found the honey in there, but the bees will kick them out. If they decide to take this over, they'll kick them out really quick. When you're looking at these traps, you'll see that you'll have activity. And those could be scavengers, they could just be foraging bees that are just trying to get some of the honey out of the hive. But when you see a lot of bees, like when they're bearding, or when you see pollen coming in, that is indicative of a laying queen in the hive body. Now, you can see bees coming and going. I don't get that excited until I start seeing pollen regularly coming into the hive. And then I know, okay, it's time to trap these bees. Now this doesn't have a disc entrance. I gotta put that on, but I'm actually gonna wait until I get done trapping a hive. Once it's nighttime, all the bees are back to the hive body, and that's when I'll put screen over the entrance and staple it in. And then I can remove the hive. You know, you can see how low I hang these swarm traps, and that's just so I can easily take them off. In my experience, you just don't have to hang them high. I've even caught them traps that have been sitting on the picnic table waiting to go out. Having drawn comb and a frame of honey in there, it's going to attract bees. That's the difference. That's the big key. And you know, folks that are not catching bees, it's probably because they need to introduce that. That's what's so great about buying a package. The one great thing you get from buying a package of bees is that it gives you everything you need. You'll have the drawn comb from the dead out to put into these swarm traps to lure the bees. So this is an old box again, and it's actually kind of rotted out at the very top, and I just threw this top on really quick with a couple pieces of wood, and that's it. Now, one thing I wanted to mention is when I trap these bees and I go to turn this entrance, when I remove it, because I'm only taking it, say 50 yards to where my apiary's at, I'm not going to put a trap back here for a couple days, because I'll notice some of the foragers will actually beard on the stand, the old stand placement of the swarm trap. It's because they're so used to doing it, force a habit, and some of the pheromone too could be drawing them in. They have to get recalibrated to the new location. Once the bees stop coming around, and one example when you can set the trap right after you take the swarm is when you're taking it more than 2 miles away. That means the foragers won't have an opportunity to fly back to the original spot. The swarm traps that I showed you today, they surround the apiary because you want to give your bees a lot of options, because the last thing you want to do is collect these swarms 20 feet up into a tree. And I mean, it's doable, but it's just a lot more effort than closing the disc entrance and walking it over to your apiary. You know, getting yourself a cart like that, a landscape cart, I can put a link down below. That's a great tool for these hives. The hive bodies just fit in there perfectly, and you can put a couple frames in there and move your stuff around the property. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please let me know if you have any questions about swarm traps, and I'll get back to everyone. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next video.